Thank you for joining us here at One Kingdom Worldwide as we share the greatest love story ever told in support of the God-led life. Welcome to Section 1, Essential Scriptural Context that has been lost down through the ages. Jesus only says and does what the Father gives him to say and do. As Talmud, we want to do the same. Jesus said, "See what the Father's doing, and do likewise." We described how the first is a relationship with God. The second is our relationships with each other. And as we look at relationships with each other, what does God do? He gives information and lets people decide, no matter what it is. So here we are. How are we going to deal with people around us that we can't trust? Well, first off, we've got to be trustworthy ourselves. So before we go back here, we got to go back here. If you can't trust me, we got nothing. If you can trust me, we got something. And then we can start to develop that trust. And how do you build trust? We build trust through communication that's sincere, that doesn't play games, that doesn't pressure. What are your eyes, face, body language, volume, and tone saying? Are you trying to threaten and intimidate, or nurture and facilitate? You don't have to look very far in this world to see those that are trying to threaten and intimidate and pressure people to do what they think is right. Well, I think we can see those people that are doing that are very misguided. They've been deceived by the enemy. This is not the way that God functions. Oh, they can provide the information that they want to share, and that's okay. That information in and of itself is just fine. But the way that it's done is everything. Accusation, shaming, intimidation, pressure, pressure, pressure. If that's you, I can't trust you. If that's me, you can't trust me. And so the real question is, are you trying to threaten and intimidate me? Or are you trying to nurture and facilitate relationship? Because if you are, nurturing and facilitating relationship requires dialogue. When you threaten and intimidate, that's fight. We have fight or flight. We're all familiar with fight or flight from childhood on. When you see danger, run. Flight. But there's situations in which we think we have the upper hand, and fight seems to help get us what we want. And in the terrible twos, it worked, because parents would kind of give up and let you go until you got old enough to understand dialogue. So before you can ever do what we spoke about in the last episode, you've got to think about dialogue. You've got to think about a heart after the Father. You have to consider the way that the Father works. Jesus showed it many times in his ministry, providing information. Some people like to say that Jesus was shouting and hollering at people when they read the words, but you know what that is? That's projection. Because we shout at people and we do that, that's pressure. And so when we read the words of Jesus, oftentimes we project him doing that, raising his voice, pressuring, but he did not. There's no evidence that he did that. There's one time only where we can see in the scripture that maybe Jesus was demonstrating his anger, but it's after 20 years of a continual problem in the temple that it came up. 20 years is a lot of patience. When we consider the times that Jesus spoke directly, it was him telling the truth to the Pharisees and the Sadducees. It was him telling them that you're not living a life pleasing to God. In fact, you're leading other people astray. And when we read those words, We project anger into those. We project him speaking loudly, which it's unlikely that he did. The evidence is always that this is the attitude of Jesus, and these would be the tones, and this is the fruit of the Spirit by which he communicated in gentleness and in humility. So when we're going to go work in this direction here now, and we're going to try to follow the ways that Jesus, we have to first be looking at ourselves. What are we saying, and how are we saying it? How intently, how intensely, how intimidatingly, how judgmentally are we saying it? And what we have to be sure is that in the moment, our attitude remains humble. In the moment, we have to remember gentleness. Be a peacemaker, not a pressure applier. So now, when I have something happening in my life, I have to have compassion. And in my compassion, in prayers of agreement, I'm asking God, what does he want me to do? Does he have something for me to say? Does he have something for me to do? And if so, I will do it as a peacemaker, gently, kindly, lovingly, directly, but without facial expression that says, you're bad, you're wrong, I'm right, do what I say. So this is the way it goes. Can we stop for a second? You know, I'm a person that loves dialogue, and I like for us to exchange ideas and considerations and so, but what I'm feeling from you right now is pressure. I'm feeling you maneuvering to try to get me to do what you want. And it's actually making me not want to trust you. And if we don't have trust together, then we have nothing. I'd like to trust that you're not going to manipulate me, try to manipulate me, fight me, run away and hide in a difficult conversation. I'd like to think that our eyes will be saying that we're here to nurture and facilitate. We're trying to develop relationship. As far as it's up to us, we should be about quality relationships, not about getting what we want. Because if it's a win-win, it's a win-win. But if it's a win-lose, our relationship's not going to last. And I'll have to inform you that I'm really not interested in continuing this relationship if I can't trust you. Now, you can do whatever you want. Yeah. And if you walk away from this conversation, I'm okay with that. Nonetheless, I ain't giving up on us. I've just got to be honest with you. I've got to tell you, I care. And if this relationship is going to continue to grow, then it'll have to be through dialogue. It can't be through pressure and manipulation, coercion, intimidation. It can't be through these very subtle manipulate to control ways. I have to see that you want a win-win and that our conversation is sincere, considerate, caring. And when that happens, we got something. And what the future can be is marvelous. We'll talk about this some more as we get into the next episodes.